I followed you for a while now, and I can see your specific type of customers. Like they don't have the resources. Some of them are maybe startups, so they're like they probably done it themselves in the beginning, but like they don't get any answers because like who are you? But you have
Yeah.
probably found like a secret sauce for them, and I think that is something I would love to hear more about. Like that's one of the main thing I think would be interesting to hear, because I meet so many startups. Obviously, they start working with us and they try to find a secret sauce. Some of them succeed, some of them just face tough challenges. But I think that that is interesting, like how we can help more startups to just get started, because everybody's not Gucci or Wild or Astrid.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's an interesting one, right? Because you have to approach influencer marketing in a very, very different way. Whether you're, I mean, I'll talk about health and wellness ones, whether you're Gymshark, whether you're My Protein, and versus whether you're, I don't know, well, you launched your supplement range 2 months ago and you're launching it now. Not only is there a complete disparity in resources, so how much budget you can put towards stuff, what software you can use, how many influencers you can work with, that sort of side. But also the whole strategy completely changes. It's not as simple as look at what the big guys are doing and then do that, but scaled down 100 times. Because that just won't work. And so it really is about finding
what?
those lower
Why do you
cost
think it won't
verticals.
work? Just curious. Why do you?
Yeah, so I'll give you a really concrete example. If you look at a campaign that Gymshark ran recently, and they worked with over 100 macro creators to promote. I believe it was a product launch. Maybe it was their store launch. I don't know if you've seen that in London. But they worked to promote one specific event. Now, that works really well because you've really, the risk has been balanced out amongst 100 influencers. If one doesn't perform well, one might perform better. Or if even like 99 of them don't perform incredibly well, in which case I imagine they've done something wrong. But one of them might make up for it all. The difference when you're a startup is if you only have the budget to work with one macro creator in that scenario, either it becomes a huge success, or more likely, because you're already getting 1, 2 full touch points with an audience, it kind of goes to shit a wee bit. So, yeah, that's what I mean by you can't really just scale down a campaign what big guys are doing.
Yeah, I mean it's risk, like you say, it's very risky, especially for a startup. And you forget, like if you just imagine yourself, like I don't know if I bought anything, like any product that I've seen just the first time, and like you need to build trust. So if there's no trust there, it's super hard. Like it's risky to just go with a bigger paid collab, compared to like Gymshark. But I'm
And more than
yeah.
anything, it's multiple advocates over one advocate. So I might go into a tiny bit of a tangent here, but one thing that we're really, really keen on when we're looking to drive hard attributable sales is audience overlap. So looking for audiences or influencers whose audience are like 80% the same. That means that they're seeing not just one of the people they look up to promoting product, but 2 or 3 or 4. Um, there's ways you can do that without even working with multiple influencers. So one thing that we did recently, we're working with this influencer for one of our clients. She was driving around 5.5K rev a month, at above a 5x ROAS. And we were really looking at that like we should be scaling spend here, seeing how much real margin we can make on this rather than just looking at the ROAS figures. And the biggest lever for us was asking this influencer to ask her audience for reviews of the product that they'd bought because of her, and then put those on our store once they'd asked for permission. It's almost like secondary usage rights. And suddenly her audience is seeing other people in her audience buying it, and you've got social proof from multiple people, regardless of a just one influencer.
That's kind of an extra layer. That's
Yeah,
super
exactly.
interesting. And have you done that multiple times now? Is that kind of one thing you're now trying to do with all of your clients, or is it only working for a one type of brand? Would you say?
It depends on the influencer. Like we're very keen on testing. This is a very recent test we did. We rolled it out in October. So it's really not been very low. And we wanted to wait a month to make sure that the results held and it didn't just go up and then all the way down. But it has held, and so it's something that we're looking to now roll out with all of our clients. For some influencers, it might do nothing. For some influencers, it might do even better than the, I think, 42% increase in sales that we saw month on month in this case. And it's really just about trialing as many new things and taking those asymmetric bets where we know that this worked for one influencer, let's test it for another, let's test it for another, let's test it for another, and see which ones hold and which ones don't.
How do you, I'm wondering how you check the audience, or like, you just go with friends, like, you know, that they follow each other, maybe they should maybe have some kind of overlap, maybe similar follower size too, look, or how do you do that? You know, if you just do everything manually, think of a startup.
Yeah, great question. I don't know, and you'll know this better than me. I don't know how many tools offer kind of like an audience overlap percentage as part of their metrics. And you might turn to say sculpted, but no, we look at a couple things. One is, of course, if they're following each other. If the influencers follow each other, mention each other regularly, then their audiences are going to have been migrated. So some audience members from one influencer is going to be with the other and vice versa. That's really, really simple. We're also looking at location of followers. If they're in the same city, it will get high percentages in the same city. Then it's not concrete, but we can take a reasonable guess that if they're in the same niche, they're in the same city, they're likely to have a good follower overlap. And then the standard, so you're looking at gender, looking at age, so sure they're overlapping. And then also affinity, so just checking to make sure they are talking about the same things, and creating content about the same topics that are going to appeal to the same one person that might follow both.
Yeah, I mean, looking at friends who they're tagging, I think that's the first good step. I mean, like I said, like I followed all of your content on LinkedIn. You talk a lot about, influencer seeding, seeding products. That's better than just go with a lot of bigger paid collabs. I'm curious, and you do this also for many startups, specifically in wellness and health. I'm curious, like I said, it's hard for startups or upcoming brands to even get in touch with them, get their product out there. Like, what's a good post rate, first of all? And what's the secret? Like, how do you get on board?
So, I mean, to answer your first question, just with getting in touch with influencers, I think everyone knows how to send a message, like how to send a DM or how to send an email. That's fine. The issue that comes when you're doing that still, you don't want one of your team members working full time, sending out X number of emails a day, X number of DMs a day, then managing all those communications automatically. So the first thing I'd say is, if you're looking to run seeding at scale, you need the right systems. That's something like email outreach automated. That's creating FAQs, so standard responses in different influencers, having template messages there, and making sure that process takes you 1 hour rather than 10 hours every day. So that's why email is a preferred for overall Instagram DMs for us. Not only because we actually see higher response rates there, but more importantly because we're not having to send out an extra message manually. We're automatically doing it through our email software.
I'm super curious around the questions. This is something I talked with another influence expert like a while ago, and he managed to build like a crazy, influence outreach process, if you can call it that. And he kind of pinpointed a few questions that always came up, and then he tried to answer them already in the first email, so they don't even get the questions. I'm curious, is it any general questions that always pops up that you would try to answer in the first, or I guess maybe even the follow-up that you've...
I mean, great question. More info on the product is obviously the most common. We'll try to, as much as possible, summarize the product, the benefits, why it's going to resonate well with them, their audience, in the first email. But there is only a limit on how long you can make that email or how long you can make that Instagram message. And so we might often have an influencer go, I might get more into the product, or can you send me a website link? At which point the standard reply is, yes, of course, you can find more info here. and then a bit of a longer summary to the product. Sometimes we'll ask for ingredients lists. We'll always have that ready to go. And just making sure that we're ready to answer basic questions about the product, understand the product inside out. So understand exactly the benefits that our client are looking to carry towards the influencer. And that's probably about 80-90% of the questions about players.
I mean, just having all that ready, I think will save a lot of time, especially if you set up the process for an intern or someone they just hired. Now, when it comes to, like, I've seen your, a few of your templates. I love them. But if you would summarize like the structure for someone that's just starting writing like a template or an email to an influencer, like what would this structure be like if you summarize that?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So I'd preface it by saying two things. One, it needs to be as short as possible. So our first drafts are usually triple the length of our final message. And then secondary, it needs to be fun. It can't be like, hey, I am, and then just corporate all the way down. It needs to have a bit of enthusiasm. It needs to match brand voice. It needs to match the influencer's voice, which I'll touch on in a bit. But to get back to your question, sorry, structure-wise, very quick intro into who you are, the product, why it's going to benefit the influencer and their audience, because that's what they're looking for. It's not you telling them that you've got X number of milligrams of a certain vitamin in your product. And then signing off by just with a very clear CTA asking if they can send over their address for you to ship out to.
I like also when it's short. And I mean, you don't have I don't have any attention. I need to, read it fast. Like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I guess more importantly as well, right, is if I received a message that's 300, 400 words long, I know as an influencer that that's not being written specifically for me. There's zero chance that there's a guy at a brand that's writing 300 word messages to me. So it almost makes it look more personalized, more direct when it's shorter and when it's a bit more casual. Because it feels like you're reaching out from a friend and not for a business.
Yeah. Do you use social proof? Like, we just work with Kathy. Like, I know you, blah, 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 maybe follow her or something like, have you tried that?
Yeah, good question. Yes and no. So the majority of our seeding work is between 3 and 70K, 3 and 100K followers. There are cases where a brand hasn't worked with an influencer that's large enough for us to put into that email message and expect a good percentage of them global. What really works well is including the ratings that a brand's got. So just product social group. So for Hunter Gather, one of our clients, I can remember one of the outreach sequences saying we've got about 4.4 stars from over 10,000 reviews on this product. I think that was on the second one. The alternative though is if a brand has worked with a large celebrity or someone with over 500K, for example, in their space, then chucking it in as a side note in that initial outreach email does no harm. And we've definitely seen an uplift in opportunities when we've used a big celebrity, name dropped a big celebrity in the outreach.
And I guess like when it comes to upcoming startups, they usually have a new product. So I think just sharing like Trustpilot, just getting them that is like, this is, people are buying this, you can stand behind it. So I think that's super smart.
The other way to play it for startups, or even for new product launches for larger brands, so is playing on the launch, playing on I want you to be one of the first influencers to receive this product, I want you to be one of the exclusive few that gets to trial this before anyone else, and you don't need to pay for it. We'll just send it over to you. We've done that for startups who are maybe launching their first, second product. We've also done that for large established brands who are launching their 30th, 35th, 40th SKU. So when we've just seen really good results on that as well. So it really is play to your strengths. If there's something which you might feel is a weakness, like, oh, I've not got any social proof, I've not got any reviews about this product. The strength there is that it's a new launch and it's exclusive. your weakness is, oh, this product's been out for like 3 years or 4 years, and it's nothing new in the market. Play on your strength, which is there's over 10,000 reviews at 4 million stars.
I mean, that's smart. Like, depending on where you are, use different tactics.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, you love seeding, and when it comes to seeding, like something I hear a lot from brands and especially startups, they start seeding, like they think that's the easy way, just get your product out there. People will just, it's efficient, it's cheap. But then obviously they get maybe lower post rate, or no one is posting, or they do post, but like they don't see any sales, and that's kind of their end goal. Like, can you expect sales from seeding? And if yes, like how do you need to, how do you get sales from seeding? I've heard so many different stories around that.
So from a first or second or third seeding push, I'd go into it expecting zero sales. Like, we usually do get a good number of sales for working with an established brand, because they already have had touch points with that audience, whether that's for other influencer work they've done, other organic social, meta, etc. For startups, wouldn't expect any sales in that first, second push. The real sales driver from seeding comes from the results of the campaign. So not only are you building relationships with hundreds of influencers where we can then negotiate lower rates on paid partnerships, which do drive sales, we're running at 5x ROAS on average across all of our campaigns. But you can get the content, which you got for free, you can plug that into paid, can repurpose it there. You can use it on organic social, websites, email flows. It really is that base layer. What we're launching now for a lot of brands is a 3-tier influencer program. So we'll run seeding, and then we'll turn the best seeding influencers into influencer affiliates. So performance-based is sending the product every month, getting regular awareness, content, sales, all on a performance basis. And then paid partnerships, the level above, or paying them for exact deliverables anymore. And that kind of 3-tiered approach means that you're not wasting money on paid partnerships with an influencer that you've never worked with, but you are able to test to 100, 200 influencers per season push to work out who the best paid partners are going to be.
I think that's good for many startups, just to realize or set the expectation pretty low when it comes to sales, because I think maybe 5 years ago that would work. Your upcoming brand, you just seed a lot of products and then you get sales, but that's not the reality. I pinged you around retail sales. That is also something I, feel like I don't really myself have the answer. And I hear it a lot, but there's a lot of, brands out, selling like protein bars or just anything that is not really sold DTC online. You need to go into Tesco or whatever store out there and buy it. And it's super hard to track, did this influencer campaign generate sales from specifically that store or in general stores? And you mentioned you have some experience from it. You have done it for brands. Like, I know it's hard to track sales, but like, what's the strategy there? Like, what's the best way to work with influencer when it comes to getting traffic to retail stores and get sales? What do you say?
So I'll use a current example. One of our clients just launched into Costco, big launch for them. Very, very important for their growth. And so we're looking to direct all of our influencer work to support that. Now, the first question that always comes up is, how are we going to track how are we going to track the results from this influencer program? And the answer that we usually give is, we could track link clicks to the Costco website and sales to the Costco website. But if our focus is getting people into retail, then our CTA, and we really only want one CTA on any sort of deliverable, our CTA should be get in the store. It shouldn't be check out the Costco website and then go in store, because something that's 2 CTAs. So if you're looking at tracking whistles, just using awareness, just using engagements, looking at the kind of very, very top of funnel performance of the ads, looking at more qualitative stuff. So are people commenting on the post saying, love this, I'm going to my local Costco to buy this now? Or are they responding to a story saying, what Costco's is this available at? Real buying questions, So it's a lot less trackable, way harder to do attributable sales for retail, but it does work. And the content styles can always be really creative. Like you can get an influencer to title apps, then walking into a specific Costco and picking it up and going to the store, for example. You can get them to do stuff with it in store. Always goes well, but it's in public, right? Like people don't expect stuff to be filmed in public. So it works.
But that's interesting. Like just pushing the traffic, like pushing people to go into the store. I think that's just like that's something I think many brands maybe forget. Sometimes they still have some kind of online presence, so they drive them to the site, but there's no reason to drive them to the site because there's just pictures there. So that's
one thing that we really is a secondary benefit from these retail campaigns, and also putting to be part of the word honest and thought about before running this sort of stuff, was how much it benefits the brand to the retailer relationship. So telling a retailer that not only are you doing marketing work in store, not only are you doing like sampling in store at Costco, for example, we're all familiar with Costco sampling, but telling them and showing them evidence that we're driving people from socials to Costco rather than to our online store. I mean, we want this to work. Stuff like that, and also giving, in this case, Costco, real evidence that people are going into stores and buying that works a treat for building a better relationship between the brand and the buyer.
Yeah, that's great for their relationships. Yeah, for sure. I'm having a meeting next week with a brand, and their focus is to now launch in Sprouts, like in the US. And they were also like, okay, how can we get people in stores? It's super hard, and they only have stores maybe in the California. Like it's and they need to narrow down. So this is definitely something there to work on for many brands.
Biggest thing I'm looking at there before anything else is you need to be looking at audience location, because that campaign doesn't work if 20% are Russia.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I now remember the question I had around seating, because this is also a question I get a lot. Like, what do you do? Like, but because if you do seating, you will get a lot of emails like saying, no, I only do paid. Like, how do you tackle that? What's a smart way to tackle that? Because I know you do the no strings attached. Like, no, I just want to send a product. Like, but yeah, tell me.
Great question. So a lot of people ask us this and ask like, what percentage of people will come back saying that they would rather, like, they're not taking gifted collabs or we taking paid partnerships. The number's surprisingly low. I don't know what we guys see, but we see 3 to 5% of influencers coming back saying they don't do gifted collabs, which is way lower than we've heard a lot of other brands getting. When it comes down to that initial outreach messaging, framing it as this is a gift. This is us building a relationship with you. There are paid partnerships in the pipeline in the future. We include that in our initial outreach. And there always is. Like, we're not saying that for the sake of saying that. And we get 3 to 5% say, okay, we don't take gifted collabs, in which case you can go one of two ways. Either you say, this isn't the collab, we want to send you product, we'd love to hear your feedback, you don't need to post, which is great because we get good feedback from an influencer that clearly knows their worth, and we can use that to decide whether we want to move them into influencer friendly or into paid partnerships. And with the other route to go, I would say, okay, no stress, no worries, keep in touch, and we might have some paid collabs in the future. You just note their name down on the side of that spreadsheet, say, this is someone that we might want to talk to for paid partnerships in the future. These are their rates.
Nice. I like that feedback part. Like, because if they only need to give you feedback and they actually love it, like, because they can also say like, I don't really like it, because they don't have to post. If you get good feedback and you can see that they really love the product, that's also a really good indication for a collab. Because it will just, you'll see it in the story, in the collab, that they really love it. And they usually give, the great results you want. So I think that's
Yeah,
smart if you, yeah.
all people are surprised when they ask them, what are your internal benchmarks? So I'll maybe give a little bit here. But internally, we're actually not looking at what potential influencers can we get to post. So our average is about 38%, which is like very high as far as I know for industry standards. Recent campaigns we've seen about 44 or 50%. But that's not our internal benchmark. Our internal benchmark is how many influencers can we get to give us either post or give us feedback, because that increases the pool that we can look at for influencer affiliates or paid partnerships. It's very hard for us to analyze an influencer if they receive the content and don't even give us feedback. Although we still do, and we've seen some opportunities come from that, but really what we're looking for is optimizing either content or feedback from influencer and using that messaging rather than just pushing the post, which I know a lot of brands do. It's probably why they see lower post rates, but inverse.
Cool. So yeah, I just have a final question that I just love to hear your take on it, because you met so many brands and you've heard many stories like how they've kind of managed influencers before and probably seen a lot of, fails. What would you say, is this something, if you can pick one thing that marketers out there should just stop doing when it comes to influencer marketing, that is like even not working or just like anything, like stop doing this? What would it be?
So you say, what's one thing that we see so many brands do that they just should not?
Exactly.
Yeah, you might know my answer if we've seen like LinkedIn content. It's just, I mean, it's standard, but it's so true. It's those one-off paid partnership posts where you're not building a relationship with the influencer. They're clearly in it for the collab. Clearly in it just for the money. Probably don't like the product. I'm going to say, but I'll keep it short and just so the one-off transactional collaborations would definitely see that.
I totally agree. It's like, it will just feel like a typical ad, television,
Yeah.
like a typical ad, and it won't generate anything. Not even, it won't be even a good content piece to repurpose. It will just look like an ad.
So, what point of influencer marketing is there? You should try and make it look as neat, as little like an ad as possible. And this is like paid social as possible. And so if you're making that transactional content, then I mean, consumers are wise now. Consumers know this influencer should be paid for it, and they know they'll be scripted to say extra 10 things that are recordable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. This was fun. And
Yeah,
it's super awesome insights, Sambhav. I think, I do think many founders out there, especially in the DTC space, would love to hear all these insights and hopefully can tweak their strategies, maybe even work with you guys in the UK. But it was super nice talking to you. And yeah, I mean, have fun now in Sri Lanka.